Hey there everyone, you're listening to another round of the With Just 15 Defeats show with myself, Teekosey. In this show we're going to do a heavyweight preview, slightly different from the previous two breakdowns we've done in the series, but this is a preview, and it's going to be a preview of the up-and-coming fight between David Haye and Mark de Mori. Now, this isn't really an exciting fight. David Haye's been out of the ring for a number of years, and he's fighting a relatively unknown guy. Now, I don't know that much about Mark de Mori, apart from the fact that he's going to get stopped in this fight. That is pretty much a fact. And the reasons why is that he just doesn't have the caliber. We're just looking at his history. He is a bit of a veteran. Now, he's only 33 years of age, but he's been a professional for 11 years. So he's been a professional since he was early 20s. His current record is 30 wins with 26 KOs, 1 defeat by KO, and 2 draws. Okay, he's from Western Australia, and he's 6'2". So you look at that record and you think 30 wins, 26 by KO. That's a very high KO percentage. But you've got to dig a little deeper into how good that is, because for a lot of fighters that would be quite incredible, particularly over a 10+ year career. He's managed to sustain a professional career for that long without really evading defeats, apart from the one that we mentioned. And the one defeat that he had was quite early on, and it was within the first year of his career. But looking through what he has achieved in his professional career, we're looking at the opponents. So that's how you can judge the caliber of a specific fighter, by who they've actually fought. Now, looking at someone like moving sideways, Dereck Chisora. Now, Dereck Chisora has lost quite a few fights in the last 4 years, but he's fought guys of caliber. So, whilst every time he's come up against someone decent, he has lost, he's been a good caliber opponent for them, particularly in the Klitschko fight and Helenius fight. He came out with a lot of credit. But going back to this de Mori chap, we look at his previous opponents in the last 2 or 3 years. His last opponent was someone who had a record of 24 wins, not bad, but 14 defeats. It almost sums up this show's title. Just 14 defeats. Come on. Then before that, he had a run of terrible opponents. Radenko Kovac, only 2 wins and 5 defeats. Before that, a guy called Bolic, 4 wins, 3 defeats. He fought someone with a half-decent record, Mourinho Goles, 16 wins, 1 defeat. But then we've got a guy with 19 defeats, then someone with 21 defeats, then someone with 16 defeats. Then he's fighting someone who's only had 2 fights, 2 wins. That's just a joke, and that is the only time he's taken a no, was when he fought someone called Iko Drazvik. 2 wins, no defeats. Why are you fighting someone? You're 10 years into 8 or 9 years into your career, and you're fighting someone in their 3rd fight. It's embarrassing. And before that, he fought someone who only had their 4th fight and had lost half of them. Then a couple of pathetic ones: 26 defeats, 16 defeats, 23 defeats. 13 defeats, 12 defeats. You get the impression. You're getting the picture of who he's been fighting in the last year, and knocking out these guys. It really means nothing. It means nothing. It just means that he's gained experience. He's gained rounds. He's gained false confidence of stopping guys. That really, when he fights someone of any caliber, it's going to be a bit of a wake-up call. And when he gets stopped, it could be quite serious for this sort of chap. Now, looking at him, He looks relatively muscular, but there's very little footage online. And obviously, being Australian and fighting low caliber opponents, there's so little footage of him online, and a lot of it, bizarrely, is quite old. It's 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. So we've got not a lot to go by of what he's like in the recent years. But he looks like a boxer that doesn't really have much of an identity in terms of style. From what I've seen, some of it looks like he's a counterpunch. Some of it looks like he's a move forward fighter. But it seems like he has his lazy hands. He likes to drop his hands and try and take punishment. Now, some guys are capable of doing that if you've got a good chin, you're a durable opponent, and if you've got the power to back it up with a counter, you can maybe walk through. He's facing a different animal in David Haye. A different animal. So, David Haye, if he's at the same level that he was when he won the title, now that is some time ago when he first won that world title, which was, let's just check, when he won the heavyweight title, it was 2009. So we're talking about six years ago. 6 years ago. How time flies. Is he going to be in the same position that he was in at that date? 6 years down the line, having taken an extended break, all the messing about with Tyson Fury, the I'm a celebrity, the fame chasing side to David that we've seen in the last couple of years. You just don't know. He looks in fantastic shape. He always looks in fantastic shape. But is he going to have the hunger? Will he have aged? You don't know. Some guys age at different times. Will he still have that explosiveness? We'll have to wait and see. But for my money, it's quite a convincing David Haye victory here. I would expect him to stop the guy in 1 or 2 rounds. I think his movement is going to be the deciding factor. The agility that he shows, the balance, the footwork, the ability to close the distance and launch into devastating shots is going to be the difference. And if I had to say how this is going to be stopped, I would predict that it's going to be a massive sweeping uppercut. This guy, De Mori, looks like he pushes forward with his head relatively low, with movement when he thinks he needs it. So I would predict that David Haye will be able to just cut that distance so rapidly and fire one of those haymakers and drop him in convincing fashion. So when that does happen, which it will, where does this leave David Haye? I would say that almost immediately he will be in the ring. He will be trying to call out one of the big guys. He may even try and call out Wladimir for his rematch. You don't know. You don't know. But he's going to probably be talking about getting Anthony Joshua in the ring. And if you've listened to my previous show, which was about Joshua, you'll know my views on the matter, that I think that if Haye is anywhere close to his prime, Valuev-esque, that period of his career, he will stop Joshua. He will stop him. I think he'll just be too quick, too powerful, too much good movement. He'll be able to evade shots. Yes, Joshua seems to have the power, the devastating and violent power that could knock out every single guy in the division. But if you can evade the shots, you don't lose. You don't get knocked out. And that's where I would be on the matter. So I would say that Joshua, he needs to not have that fight, at least for some time. He needs to be put on the back burner until he's really kind of built up a head of steam with some high caliber opponents. But we'll see how that manoeuvres itself. For Haye, he really needs to step up. This is by far one of the worst opponents he's had. This is worse, in my opinion, than Audley Harrison. Now, people will laugh at that, but Audley Harrison, he was like the real-life Rocky, and you always felt that whilst he became a bit of a laughing-stock, he kind of had the skills that in another alternative universe, Audley Harrison did become the world champion. He succeeded. He fulfilled his dreams. So he had that kind of that ability that was in him. But whereas Mark de Mori, he doesn't. He doesn't. It's a shame that Haye's gone down this route of a guaranteed victory, because he's been in some cracking fights over the years. Some of his cruiserweight fights were exceptional. The way he won the title in the first place against Mormek, and the way that he almost decapitated Enzo Maccarinelli. Now, that was an incredible stoppage. But to be honest, it was expected. He was just so much bigger than poor old Enzo. So that is how I feel about the fight. We're going to have a guaranteed win. He's going to move on. Let's just see who else is in the rankings for Haye, whether he can fight someone of any genuine note. So I'm just looking at the world rankings on BoxRec for heavyweights, and I'm just going to consider who Haye could fight after winning the fight against de Mori. Now, I don't really want to see him in with anyone top level, if I'm perfectly honest. I don't think he deserves it. So immediately I'm going to say Fury, Klitschko, Povetkin, Wilder. We're gonna cast those guys aside for now, and I don't want him to fight anyone low level, anyone British level. Okay, pointless fights. So we've got to move on to some people that are kind of up there that could be an interesting fight. So Pulev, Scott, Tepper, Tarver, these are all okay fights that would be interesting fights. But we never know the way that Haye works. It's all about the money, as we can see that the undercard for the Haye fight, as always, is guaranteed to absolutely stink the gaff out. And if you go into the fight, you're going to be bored shitless until the fight, and then Haye is going to dispatch his man in 3 to 6 minutes. So you've got to think to yourself, is it even worth going? The atmosphere is probably going to be rocking for 15 minutes in around the start of the fight, but the rest of the show is going to absolutely stink the gaff out. So thanks for listening to this show. We'll be back soon with some more predictions and some more heavyweight breakdowns. So if you've enjoyed this show, just leave us some comments. What do you think is going to happen? Does de Mori have a chance? He probably doesn't, but does he have a chance? Let us know your comments, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be talking to you soon.